Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video, and welcome to this crash course on SwiftUI. So get relaxed, it's going to be a little longer video and there is a lot to learn here. First, I know that a majority of you don't have your MacBook or an Apple device, so it's really going to be a little bit difficult to follow along. We'll talk about that in a second, but first let me address the fact that a lot of you make applications for the mobile in Flutter, React Native, Xamarin, and other such similar frameworks, which says that we'll give you a native application through that. That's also great. But it is important for those developers to see that how the applications are developed in Xcode, in the core Android, so that you get idea that how the core framework and the core libraries and all these stuffs are designed in that. So this video is specially designed for that, and all those users should watch really this video to get more insight detail that how SwiftUI works and what it is like to code on the Xcode itself. And as I said again, that following along this tutorial is going to be a little bit difficult if you don't have Xcode, which only runs in the Mac machine. So regardless you have it or not, it's beneficial for all of us to have a look on SwiftUI and the Swift language in itself. So I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy that. All the code files that I'm creating in this entire thing and all the images, assets, everything will be available to you through a Git repository. I'll link that in the description section. So don't you worry on that part as well. Now there are a couple of assets that I'll give you. The first ones are here, and I'll show you what we'll be designing as well. So these are the mock test images that are here. They are named up conveniently as MT1, MT2, MT3 for mock test. So we'll be kind of designing a UI based on these mock tests. Coming to the question, what we'll be designing is this one up here. So what we'll be designing is this interface. So first we'll have an image on the left side, a text or a title of the mock test on the right side, image here, and we'll be doing all of this like rupee symbol and the cross off and this strike through and everything. We'll be doing that as well. So this is the first interface we'll be designing. We'll have a scrollable list of all the elements. The second thing we'll be designing is as soon as somebody clicks on this, it will open up a detail view, which will have an image at the top, then the title, all these strike through and the pricing, and then we'll have some description, a big button, and all these 180 marks, 75 minutes, and 60 questions, all these details will be there. So it's going to be quite a little bit more than a hello world and more than a crash course to learn and enjoy about it. And I'm pretty sure you're excited about this one. So buckle up, let's go ahead and get started with that. So I'm going to remove this up here and let's bring up our Xcode. And there we go. So just go ahead and click on create new project. And the project type is iOS, and we are creating a single view app, or in this case, they call it as now app. Previously, they used to call it as single view app, but now it is more conveniently called as app. Let's click on next, and the product name, let's call this as LCO mock test. Yeah, LCO mock test is fine. And then you have to provide the organization identifier. Usually it is in the reverse order, just like it works in Android. In.learncodeonline or similar domain if you have, mine is fine. Make sure that the interface is SwiftUI because that's what we'll be studying in this video and we'll be looking out. And there is another one, storyboard, which is not recommended now. Things are moving into SwiftUI. Lifecycle is SwiftUI. Yes, there is other option as well. We won't be going for that. Language, of course, is Swift. We won't be working with core data or include any test in this application. Core data is almost like a cooked up, baked in database, which you can use with the iOS applications. We won't be going in that depth. Let's click on next and try to create that. I'll initialize a Git repository for this one so that I can push it later on to the Git. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and create one here. So LCO mock test is fine. Now let's go ahead and try to use all the real estate that we have, which is very small in this case. At the very top right, you can see these toggles. So we're going to just remove all of them and you can hit the resume so that your light version of the simulator is up and running. This is not an actual simulator. This is moreover like giving you a light look on what you are building up, specially designed for the SwiftUI. It is different from your actual simulator, which runs up here. And you can change up all the simulators at the very top here. You can just click on iPhone and can change whatever you like. All of these are available to you by default. And that's what makes this application so gigantic. Okay, first, the crash course on the SwiftUI. It's a really detailed. All the fields and properties are almost like HTML and CSS in the SwiftUI. So mastering all of them is really a big deal. You don't need that. You just need a few basic concepts with you and you'll be good to go. So let me give you a tour of that. As I can see, this is a hello world being up here. I can go ahead and change from hello world to hello Hitesh, why not? And we can see an instant update there. Okay, that is fine. But what I want to show you, there are 3 core components of whenever you design any Swift, any UI in the Swift UI. The first one is the H stack. So as soon as I go for H stack, and there we go, just hit a curly brace and enter. Now I can add these text values, and I can simply go ahead and say, let's just say Hitesh, and there we go. Now there are more properties to these texts and all these elements like text, buttons, images, all of them have some more properties that you can add. For example, I can just say that font, I would like to go for a title font, or maybe I want to go for a subheading font, so it makes things big and smaller. There are a couple of variants of title being given to you, like title 3, 1, 2, and 3 are given to you, so you can go ahead and work on with that. I can also go ahead and copy this and paste it one more time, and I can add my surname or last name, and there we go. Since this was all in the H stack, that's why they are stacked against each other on the left hand side and right hand side. There is another stack which is V stack, which automatically moves things from top to bottom vertically. There is also a Z stack which actually overlaps the thing, so there are different properties associated with them. And there are some hidden things given to you with these stacks as well. For example, all these H stack and V stack takes parameters as well, and you can go ahead and define spacing to them. So for example, you want to go for 20 spacing, so you get the idea, it gives you a more spacing. There are a little bit of the alignments being given to you, so you can go ahead and say alignment, and that's going to be, as soon as you put a dot leading, all of them actually, come on, do a little bit. Okay, so we are going to fix that and see that a little bit later on. Okay, so let's go ahead and change that. And as you can see, there is a lot more to learn up here, and looks like this is not happy. I'll show you that in a minute. First, let's go for that. So as you can see, we have these H stacks being text up here, but there are a little bit more I wanted to show you. Spacer is another quite friendly. You can see that it just spaces apart. Very handy in some of the cases. Not only spacer, we have divider as well. Divider, there we go. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see a horizontal line being going from, not horizontal, a vertical line being going on from top to bottom. This is divider, and it automatically changes the axis based on what stack you are using, H stack or V stack. I know this is a little bit difficult to see, but I'll try to zoom there. Again, it's a little bit difficult to see on this simulator. Moreover, in the actual real device, it's much more visible and prominent. Okay, so that is a totally end for your H stack, V stack crash course that we wanted to have. Now let's go ahead and work on these ones. So let's go ahead and have a look on this design one more time. It's pretty simple. We'll have an image. Obviously, you can see this is a horizontal stack. So image goes on the left side and the text goes on the right side on top of that, and we can mix and match these horizontal and vertical stack. So first, a horizontal stack, text and image. And then on further, we need a V stack to make sure that the text and the title is at the top and the pricing is at the bottom. So it doesn't make sense right now, but it will. Don't worry on that part. So let's go ahead and remove this part here, and we're going to have an H stack first. Let's go ahead and have this one. Now in this H stack, we are going to directly say that I need an image. As soon as I try to create an object, it gives me options that you can use bundles, labels, scale name, and a whole bunch of other things. We are going to use a name of empty-1. Conveniently, we have these assets, but we haven't drag and drop them. So we need to just open up these X asset, go ahead, copy all of this. So let's go ahead and copy them. And there we go. Now, in the case of iOS world, there is also a retina display. So it is advisable and kind of a required that you don't only just send these images, you send a 2x and 3x version of that. And that's why you see these placeholder of 2x and 3x here. So you need to design all these assets similarly. Designers actually forward you all these images in that format. Once this is done, now I can go into the content view, and I can go ahead and refer these as images names. So it will just blow off on my face right now, because it's almost like HTML. You add an image, it just takes the entire space. So you need to make sure that this has a couple of properties like resizable, and then another property of scale to fit. I don't remember the exact name, but I just remember the vaguely that it is fit. Xcode actually helps me out, and notice here, as soon as I do this, I need to hit resume a couple of times. And now it gives me image, but I also need to add a frame here. So I'm going to go ahead and say dot frame, and let's add a height to it. Come on, not this many properties, definitely. Height is, let's go ahead and try with 80, too small. 90, yeah, that's fine, that looks fine. Okay, so this is all okay. And now the horizontal stack, as I told you, these stacks can be inserted into each other as well. So in this case, it makes sense that just right next to the image, since this is a horizontal stack, we add a V stack as well. And there we go, V stack. And this will have a text. So there we go. And we're going to call this one as LCO interview. Come on. Preparation mock test. So there we go. This is all basics that we got up here. And let's go ahead and add a few properties to this one. So this is obviously going to have a font style or font weight. Let's go ahead and say that this is going to be medium is fine. Yeah, that's fine. And we are also going to have a dot font property. Let's go ahead and see how does the title looks. Too big for my taste. Title 3. Okay, it's fine, but I think we can do a little bit better. Let's see what more options we have got. Come on, give me some options. No, it's not gonna give me. Let's try headline. Yeah, that's okay. I'll go with that. Okay, apart from this, we are going to add a bit more properties to this font. Let's go ahead and give it a max line property. Why is it not suggesting me? Okay, we're going to be doing a little bit more onto this one, but first let's copy this text one more time so that we can have another one. And this one is going to be definitely a subheading. So we're going to go ahead and say subheadline. And this V stack, we are going to add a property here, which is going to be alignment, which is going to be dot leading. And we don't need content in any of this. So this is definitely not required because our content we have already defined. Spacing, let's go ahead and give it a little bit of spacing, probably a 5. Yeah, 5 is fine. Remove, okay, fix that, and this is okay. And this will not have this much of the big text. This will have just 199, and that's fine. We need a little bit more spacing, probably 15, a little bit more. Again, these are all needs to be eyeballed up, so I think this is fine. Yeah, that looks okay. And we can actually go ahead and add a little bit of rupees and all these things. But let me show you something interesting that we can use up here. We're going to use a little bit of the Unicode character for the rupee symbol. So let me show you that. Okay, so I've got this Unicode character, and it's actually really fun to directly inject these Unicode characters. Let me write that in the comment section here first. So this is all you need to do. In the string, if you pass on any /u and then the Unicode character, then it automatically converts into that symbol. This is all supported throughout the iOS. And the one that we got here is the rupee symbol, which is now almost a universal now. All you have to do is just prepend all of your text label just by this. You can create this as a variable and can use that. And I'm going to hit resume. And now we're going to see this rupee symbol. In case you are working with the dollar or any other symbol, you can go ahead and use that as well. So I think this looks okay, but now we need to add a little bit of the padding onto all sides of this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is let's add a little bit of the padding onto this list view. We can do that, or we can add a little bit of padding onto this one here as well. Let's add a padding to this image. So padding, and from all the side, probably not. That's not what I want. I want to have a little bit of padding onto horizontal. You can add a comma and can control that how much padding you want. Just put up a comma and add a value, probably 7. And this is what we want as of now. So I think this is looking fairly decent. Surely we can brush it up a little bit, but I think this is fine. Okay, so we have designed our UI. Now the next thing is we need to give a structure of this. So obviously we need to loop through the values. We can repeat this as well, this edge stack. But that doesn't make sense. So what we'll be doing is we need to create an array, not just any ordinary array. We need to have a structure because our values are fixed: title, subtitle, selling price, the strike through pricing, and a bunch of other things. So for this, we'll be going up here and we'll be creating a new file. So Control N to create a new file. There are two major types of file that are given to you, the Swift file as well as the SwiftUI. SwiftUI is majorly to design these kinds of UI. It gives you these content previews and all these default options. The SwiftUI is major code files, wherever you need to design the structure, classes kind of stuff. That is where we create stuff, a Swift file. Let's go ahead and call this simply mock test. And make sure the target of your application is checked, otherwise you won't be able to refer to this file directly. Let's go ahead and create this, and there we go. We're going to go ahead and change this to SwiftUI. So that's the part 1. Now coming up on to the part 2 of this file, that how the structure is going to define. Just like you create classes in your application which are based on Java or JavaScript or any other, here we create structs for that. So it's almost same concept. It is actually same concept. So let's go ahead and get a struct here, and we're going to call this one as mock test. This is the struct here. Let's go ahead and hit enter. So how this struct is going to be there, let's go ahead and add a few properties. The first is image name. Every structure is going to have an image name of type string because we have empty1, empty2 and stuff like that. We'll have title, which is obviously going to be a type of string. Then let's go ahead and have a description as well, which is again going to be a type of string. And we will have, we'll have a sell price, which we'll show directly. We'll take that as a string so that we can manipulate it later on. And we'll have a original price to strike through it. We're going to go ahead and say string. And we'll have a URL as well. So let's go ahead and give it a type of URL. In case you are wondering, yes, there are all options available for you. You can go for integer. All the usual culprits are there. You can have float values, you can have bool values, and pretty much anything that you can think of. Language supports all of that. So we'll be going for URL. Okay, so this is my structure is defined. You don't add values in the structure, you just define how the structure is going to be architected. Okay, so this is basic, and usually people prefer to hold this structure into a separate file. Since our application is not that big, that's why I have defined the structure just right up here. And we'll be creating another struct in this file that's going to be called as mock test list. I think that's a decent name. And in this struct, we are going to create an array. So how we do that? Really simple. We're going to say that I do have a static array. So let LCO test. Yeah, really running out of the name. This is going to be an array. So how does an array work? Really simple. You can go ahead and add a list of string just like this. But since we have a struct, so that means we are not going to create an array of strings. We're going to create an array of structs. So rather removing this, hit an enter just for the visual aspect. And we will be creating a mock test here. So mock test, as soon as you open it up, it gives you all the options that are mandatory for you to fill up. So let's go ahead and hit enter. String name, we have all from empty1 to empty10. The title, let's go ahead and go for pro interview preparation. Did I wrote it correct? Preparation edition 1 or something like that. In the description, a long description will go here. Sell price will be going for $199, and the original price, let's go for $2,999, and the URL. This is important, and this is you need to see because there is going to be an error here. Let's go ahead and take it down. We'll be defining a URL. As soon as you open up, there are a lot of ways how you can initialize it. We are going to go for the string one. So there you can place up the strings. So let's go ahead and try that and see the error. We'll be going for https://courses.learncodeonline.in/learn. Now let's wait for a couple of seconds so that it processes it and gives us an error. There we go. We saw the error in the URL format. Why this is an error? Now notice here it says that, hey, this is a value of URL. That means as soon as somebody clicks on this URL or you use this URL, I'll take you onto the browser probably and will open that URL. If that's not rightly formatted URL, maybe accidentally instead of HTTPS, you have got HTTPS, I'll assume that you are correct because you have hard coded it, you have written it. So in this case, we have to actually explicitly mention that I know what I'm doing. This may be prone to error, but I'll handle these kinds of error in my code, and thus you write that. Okay, so this is the basics of it. And now all you got to do is put up a comma, go ahead and copy this, and go ahead and paste that and create as many arrays as you want. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to write all of these in a little bit better manner so that we can see more data on the screen. Okay, so I've got a whole lot of data. I have written a lot of things, and this is okay. But notice here one more thing, that we are not collecting more data because we need more here, like things like how many marks and minutes and question. They should also be coming up from here. Right now our mock test is not capable of handling that. We'll come back here a little bit later on and we'll fix a little bit more issues up here. But this information, you can add it up later on or consider this as an exercise for you to handle and play around with that. Okay, moving on. Now this part is all done. Let's go ahead and try to inject this array or this code file into our content view and try to repeat and iterate through over the stuff. For that, first we'll go inside this struct and we'll inject. How do we inject that? Now the good thing is we don't do import and stuff. Since the file is a part of project and we have checkmarked that target already, we can directly call this file or any file of the project directly here. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'll have mock test, and this mock test is going to be type of an array, and inside the array I expect that there is going to be a mock test, which is a struct itself. Now how we're going to initialize this? We're going to initialize this by saying that I do have a mock test file, and inside this mock test file I have this mock test list that I want to go through. Not file actually, saying that I want to address this mock test list struct first, and once I have addressed this, then I want to see this array, which is LCO test. So how do we do that? We go ahead and remove this. I want to address this struct, and inside that there is an LCO test. That's it. Now this mock test variable is holding all of these values. So all of these values that you see that are being holded up there. And I can go ahead and replace any of these values. So for example, in the image, I can go ahead and remove this, and I can use any of this mock test value. Of course, I have to iterate through it over it because right now it is holding up an array. So I need to go inside the first element of array and then address the property of that. Okay, so how we're going to do that? The first problem in front of us is loop through. So how we can actually loop through this? I'm going to go ahead and select this edge stack, and I'm going to go ahead and hold down my command key and we'll click on this, and this actually gives me a menu which is hard to see. I'll scroll this down a little bit. So select this, hold down your command key and click on this, and gives you an option that what you really want to do. In this case, I want to embed this entire element into a list. As soon as I do this, it opens up a list for me which is having a value from 0 to 5, and it gives me an item, and in these items this value is iterating over. So let's go ahead and hit a resume and see that this is working or not. So we can see the values are there, and if we go a little bit more like something like 15, it gives me values, and I can hit this play button to get a more simulator like feel, and I can scroll through these values. Okay, that is nice, but this is not going to solve my problem. This is an hard-coded array, but this mock test here is an array which I'm bringing up from some file. So I'm going to go ahead and add this mock test, but this is going to give me an error. It says fail to produce the diagnostic expression. This is not really helpful error. The problem here is that whenever you add this mock test an array, each array should be uniquely identifiable. In the case of numbers, numbers are obviously uniquely identifiable, but our list is not. So we need to go back into our list and make it uniquely identifiable. The way how we do it in the Swift is actually that follow some protocol. The way how we follow the protocol is put a colon and name your protocol. In this case, I'm saying that I'm following a protocol of identifiable, means every of this struct element, whenever you initialize this is going to be following this protocol identifiable. But the problem is right now there is nothing which is screaming that I'm unique. In order to make sure that we make sure something is unique, let's go ahead and create an ID. It can be a product ID, it can be a UUID, whatever you like to name that. So let's call this as empty ID for mock test ID, and this is going to be initialized by UUID. No, you don't import any package. These are essential things. That's why iOS or this SwiftUI actually gives you inbuilt of all of these things. And I think that is all okay. What are you screaming a little bit? Okay, so do you want to add protocol stubs? No, I don't want to do any of that. Let's go ahead and call this one as just ID so that it's happy. Save that and should be all okay now. So there we go. I guess we can call it as empty ID too. It shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it is having a problem. We need to call this as an ID. We cannot call this. We have to actually do a little bit more work to call it as empty ID or product ID, but this is also fine. Okay, let's move back up here. Now let's fix this part here as well. So here our list is saying mock test, but now we need to provide a unique ID so that it also is happy and fine with that. Let's go ahead and add this ID property. So come back here, put up a comma and say, yes, I'll give you an ID. Put up a colon, and then you have to say slash and dot, and then I can refer to this ID directly. There we go. Now it should be more happy. Then yes, I am aware of that every array should be uniquely identifiable so that performance is improved and you don't unnecessarily iterate through the items. Quite a lot. Okay, so this is all okay, but there is one more thing that is remaining, that we are not utilizing this array. So in this mock test, let's not iterate through over item. Let's call this one as empty for short for mock test. And now I can refer this empty and can say dot and can access all these properties. Let's go ahead and do that. So instead of image, I'm going to go ahead and say that empty dot image name. And let's try to resume that if we are having any error. And seems like we are having error. Okay, what we are calling this is image name. So this should be okay. Let's copy that. Okay, it was just a refresh, no problem at all. So image name is there. So images are coming up pretty nicely. This is actually looking good. And this stack is going too much. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce it down to probably 16. Nope, that's too big. Probably 10. Yeah, 10 is fine. Or probably I should go for 7. No, 10 is fine. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, we're going to also change the color as well. So let's go ahead and say dot foreground color, and we're going to go for a dot gray. So I think gray is too gray. Let's go for green. Come on, I want to go for green. Yeah, this is okay as of now. I know this is not the best UI or gonna get any UI award, but you get the idea that how these things can be easily manipulated. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this because I don't know. This is not something that I'm liking as of now. Okay, so this is all good. We will be working a little bit more on that, but I think this part is all done and this is all okay now. Now the next thing we will be doing is referring these image name and the ID and the title. Let's replace them as well. So let's go ahead and remove this, and this is going to be empty.title. So there we go, titles are appearing now. This is a little bit tricky because we are having string. So if we remove this entirely, we cannot go for that. So here we need to use the concept of string interpolation. So how we do that? We go ahead and put up a slash and then parenthesis, and now we can refer to the variables. So empty dot, and we can say this is moreover like a cell price. Okay, so looks nice. There we go. Now here we can do more conditional rendering, that if the text is or the string is free, we can remove this rupee symbol, but we are not going to go in depth in that. Let's see what we are doing so far. Okay, so this one is looking decent as of now. We haven't gone through with any kind of conditional rendering here, probably for another video. Let's go ahead and try to design a separate view and try to link them together so that we can pass on this information here. Okay, so this one is going to be a little bit tricky, but hold on, I'll make it easier. So let's go ahead and create a new SwiftUI file. So let's remove this. And again, select this one, this folder, Command N. This time we'll be creating a SwiftUI view. This is important. Don't create a Swift file. You can convert that, but we will be creating a SwiftUI view. Let's click on next, and we're going to call this one as mock test detail view, or some people call it as short for DV. That's fine too. Make sure the check mark is there and click on create. Okay, this one is again going to take a little bit while to resume, but there is very interesting thing going on in here in this detail view. Since somebody will be clicking on that particular mock test, we need to bring all the data from that mock test here as well. So first, let's go at the very top of this onto this structure, and we'll be saying that, you know what, I have the data. So let's go ahead and say that I have this mock test, and this is of type mock test. Okay. But I am assuming that this mock test is filled with data. And right now our view is having some issue that you have this data, but I don't know what to do this with data or how you're going to be using that. Don't worry, this mock test that I'm giving you is going to be coming up from mock test list, and then inside that we have this LCO test, and I'm going to give you a array. So you can give 0th value, worst value, whatever the value is favorite from your array, you can just go ahead and give that here. Now this should be all fine, but we haven't actually used anything up here. So this is just okay. Now let's go ahead and try to create the stack or the view that we are having. So this should be much more easier for you now. Let's go ahead and remove this text up here. Nice and easy. And let's grab first a v stack. There we go. Let's go ahead and grab an image. And the image, we can go ahead and directly say in this image that you're coming up from mock test dot image name. And again, we have to provide all these regular parameters to this. So resizable, you are also need to be fit, scale to fit, not fixed size. Command Z. You need to be fit, scale to fit. And also let's go ahead and add a frame, and this frame will have a height, and let's go ahead and give it a height of 210. I know that's a bit big one, but that's what we'll be doing. And we also can do a little bit of the corner radius. It's my favorite one, so let's go ahead and give it a bit one, 12.0. Yeah, that's nice and easy. Now just below this image, since this is a vertical stack, we can go ahead and add a text here. So there we go. And text value will be coming up from the mock test. So we'll be saying mock test dot title. There we go. Title comes in, and let's give it a bit of properties to this one. So we'll be saying font, and this one is going to be title 2. Yeah, that's fine. And make sure you always give a line limit, at least 2 or 3, depends whatever you are going for that. And let's give it a padding as well. So this time we'll be going for the vertical. So we'll be going a little bit vertical padding of, how about 4? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, just below that, we need to add the pricing here. So let's go ahead and add a horizontal stack for adding pricing, because we need to strike through the pricing as well. So let's go ahead and have a edge stack. There we go. Now the first thing we'll be doing is having a text. Let's go ahead, grab a text. Nice and easy. And I'll be putting up a string here, because you know what, sometime having this variable is a little bit tricky. So I'll go into my content view. I'll copy this value here, and I'll show you another way of handling this situation. And come back into mock test detail view. I'll go at the very top. I should be in the struct, but you can actually define if these kinds of variable at the top as well. Let's call this one as rupee. And let's go ahead and add a string just like that. Now I can refer to this variable wherever I like, and I can use the string interpolation. So I'll be saying that I need to use the first string interpolation as rupee, and then another string interpolation because I have a mock test value here as well. So I can say mock test dot sell price. Okay, let's go ahead and try to resume that. And there we go. We got the pricing up here. So this is fine and nice. Let's go ahead and add a few more properties to this one. So we're going to say this one is bold. This one is going to have a font of dot title 3 because this is pricing, so it should be big. And let's go ahead and give it a foreground color of dot here. Definitely we'll go for green. Okay, so that is nice. Now we need one more text element here as well, so why not to just copy and paste and save some time. Copy that, paste that, Okay, but this needs to be a little bit backed off. So we won't be going for title 3. We would be going, or we can just go for title. We cannot just make it bold because this is going to strike through. And we'll add a property of dot strike through. And there we go. This is chopped off. This one is not going to have even a foreground color. This is fine. Okay, so this is looking good. We need to add a little bit of spacing. Now here, it might be something that you might be prompted to use a spacer here. That is also fine, but it will just move it too separate apart. I don't want that, but you can do it if in case that is something that you're looking forward. I would rather use a property from the edge stack and we'll give a spacing from there. So I'll be saying spacing. Let's try 40, a little bit less, 60. Yeah, this is fine for me. So now we have these things, and I need to remove a little bit of spacing from there, a little bit of spacing from there, and probably from here as well. Okay, so this is looking good. Now moving back, let's see how this is looking like. So this is what we exactly wanted to have, these strike throughs and all of that. We can move this onto the left side in case you want. I think center is looking decent. Now next thing is we need to add these things. So these are horizontal stack values. So these all are horizontal stacked. And inside the horizontal stack, they are stacked on top of each other. So this is a little bit tricky, but we can actually pull that off. No big deal. Okay, so moving up outside this horizontal stack, let's go ahead and grab a edge stack, just like that. And inside the edge stack, we need to grab a V stack. There we go, just like that. And we'll have first a text. This text will have a hard-coded value since we don't have that. So let's go ahead and go for 360, a number. And let's add a property of dot font. This one is big, pretty big actually. So we're going to go for title for this one. And just below this one. Okay, so this font title is good. Let's add a bold property to this one as well. And just below that, we'll have one more text. Just like that. And this text will say marks. Okay, so this should be okay now. Okay, so looks like we are missing some of the values. There we go. Are you happy now? There we go. Okay, that's fine. Now let's go ahead and use this one. So this is one V stack. Copy that and let's add another one. How does it look? And we need one more here. So now all these three values are there. And we can add a little bit of more, probably 70, too big, 60 is fine. And we need a little bit of spacing between these two stacks as well. We'll figure it out a little bit later on because we can add a bit more of padding onto this top element and stuff. So this is fine as of now. Okay, so now the next thing that we'll be doing is let's go ahead and insert after this edge stack a little bit of description. So we're going to go up here. Yeah, that's nice. And let's insert a text because we are still in the V stack, so that should be fine. And inside this text, let's go ahead and add a mock test dot description. Okay, that's fine, but let's add a little bit of padding to this one because this is butting up too much. Yep, this is now coming up nicely. Okay, and now the next thing that I want to add is a link. You can add buttons as well, but link is a little bit nicer and easier to actually walk in with. It can have a destination and a label. The destination will be coming up. We'll be removing all of this. So destination, let's go ahead and say it will be coming up from mocktest.url. And here comes the interesting part. In the label, we can just say enroll now. And we can modify, since this is a text, so all the text properties can be applied to this one as well. So for example, we can go ahead and make it bold. We can go ahead and provide a frame to this one. So frame is responsible for making it look like a button. So let's go ahead for width. Let's go a bigger width, 320, and a little bit height as well. Let's go for, how about 50? Yep, that's a pretty big button, or 40. Yeah, 40 is fine too. Okay, and let's give it some background and the foreground color as well. So we're gonna go for a background color. Let's go for background and we'll say, give me a color, and let's use a system pink. No, we're gonna go for a system green. system green. Yeah, that's good for us. And let's also give it a foreground color. So dot foreground color. Let's go for dot black. Yep, looking nice. In case you want to add a corner radius for styling, let's go for 5 corner radius. Okay, so that is looking decent and fine. One more thing, let's go ahead and now shift this button to the very bottom. So let's add a spacer here. And there we go. Now it is looking much better. We can add a little bit of the padding to this top element here as well. So inside this edge stack where we are having this text, let's go ahead and add a bit of padding. Or what we can do is we can add instead that we can add a little bit of the padding to this guy. Let's go ahead and see that. These are all visual aspects. Yeah, that's nice actually. We can go ahead and do a vertical padding of how about 10. Okay, looks nice. Come on, there should be a comma there. Or maybe how about 20? Nope, definitely not. 10 is fine. Let's settle at 15. Okay, so this is now looking great. In case you want to use put them into trailing or leading space, you can go ahead and do that. I think this is looking decent now. This is nice. Now the next challenge in front of us is now back going to the content view. We need to just link all of these views together. Okay, so the linking actually happens now much more easier compared to the storyboard and the previous one is through the navigation link and the navigation view. So let's inject a navigation view, and once the navigation view is injected, we can then inject the navigation link. That's all you need to remember. Let's go ahead and try that out. Okay, so how we're going to do that? First, let's go into this view, and we're going to convert this view. Just below this, we are going to have a navigation view. There we go. So as you can see in the navigation view, we don't need any styling or like that. We're going to go just like this. So once you have this navigation view, all of your list and everything goes inside that. So let's go ahead and copy that, or in fact, let's cut this out and place. Why are you on a smaller navigation? It's a big navigation view and it's not a style. Come on, too much navigation view. And now we can go ahead and inject all of this. So this is now better. Okay, so now we have pasted down the list view here. Okay, so now how we are going to do that? So we have this list view that is going nice, but we now need to inject the navigation link as well. So if I click on any component, I take this information with me and move on to the next view. So my information is actually being holded in this empty. So I need to work a little bit on that. So inside this list view, I'm going to inject a navigation link. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and cut everything from this image to this VStack. So let's go ahead and cut this out. And now instead of injecting a list first, let's inject a navigation link. There we go. Now as soon as you open this up, it says you can go for a destination and provide a label. So the destination where you want to go, I want to go to mock test detail view. You need to carry some information with you as well as a parameter. So we're going to say I'll take mock test, and that is holded in the empty. Remember, empty is the iterated version of it, so that's nice. And instead of going with this, in fact, if you just go and save this right now, what you're going to see that you are actually able to, let me play this. You are able to go there, and every time you go there, a different image comes in. So you are able to take all of this information, but just the text of navigate is not enough, and that's why we have designed this entire item here. And this navigation link can also have a property. So first, let me select all of that and press Ctrl I to just align them properly. Now in this navigation link, I can go ahead and I can add a property here. Yeah, navigation title, which is going to be mock test. Okay, that's decent. That's a great work. Okay, let's just save this and see that how this is looking like. Stop that and run that simulator again. So we have a mock test. Again, almost looking like LCO. We have all this. We can do strike throughs and stuff here as well. That's fine. And now we go on to any this. We see this nice rendered corner, a title. This is free. Let's go ahead and try to see something which is having paid. So there we go. Some nice pricing and some strike through pricing. Probably we are missing something in the strike through pricing. Let's go ahead and work on with that. So this is sell price. This should not be a sell price. This should be original price. Okay, there we go. Now we are able to see all of this. So let's go ahead and play that. Now we are able to see the strike through pricing. These need to be changed up here as well. Let's go ahead and do that. So what were there inside the original? So it was marks, minutes, and questions. So marks, then we got minutes, and this one is questions. Okay, looking nice. And just for fun stuff, let's go ahead and change these values. Probably 180, and this one is going to be 220 something, so that we can see these are hard-coded values, but at least this looks a little bit better now. And we can add more properties here, maybe a view more button, or we can move this button a little bit higher. You can add that, so no big deal. Let's go back onto the content view. So this is what we have. Okay, a decent work for just a small crash course, and I hope you have realized that how easy it is to design the VUIs and even link up all these VUI with these information. So this is nice. Now in the upcoming videos, if you request, I will show you how you can add more features to these list view, like swipe to delete and all these features. Probably bring some data from the APIs and stuff, but I don't know how many viewers are actually interested in this kind of content. So this is a little bit of experimental content. So let me know in the comment section, do you want a bit more of this, or should I just not make too many videos on that? It's actually fun to work with this one. Okay, in case you have enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, still we can be friends. And let's catch up in the next video.